Hello guys, today we're going to talk about your different behavioral strategies that you got used to in your childhood and you continue doing them. And why we need to analyze it, because some of them might not be adequate anymore. Like in the past, they were very useful for you. Maybe they helped you survive in your childhood, but now you don't really need them. We're going to talk about different kinds of behavioral strategies that we can use. And first of all, ask yourself the question, which things that you did in childhood repeat in your adult life? For example, in childhood you used to soothe yourself by reading books and watching cartoons and kind of distracting yourself from reality. And maybe in adult life you do the same while watching TV series, watching, I don't know, social networks, and so on and so on. So analyze which strategies remain through your childhood and in our adult life. This is number one. You can use our autobiography exercise from childhood analysis playlist. And second one, ask yourself, are your strategies varied enough for different situations? And this is very interesting because, for example, your parents for example, in childhood, you needed to be aggressive to protect yourself, and you just use one strategy, aggression, but it doesn't feel to fit to all the life circumstances. Like you cannot be aggressive with your boss, you cannot be aggressive with your own children because they're gonna get scared and traumatized by it and all that. So in life you don't need to use one strategy, you need to use many strategies. And this is what differentiates someone who is adaptive to society, adaptive in their own life, and can um, easily live among other people and with themselves, is that they have many different strategies for many different situations and they choose the strategy appropriately. Okay. Then you analyze this, like, are your strategies varied enough and appropriate, and in which spheres they are not appropriate? And our task is basically to find which strategies remain in our life since childhood and which of them are good for us and which of them are harming us more than helping, or which of them we are using in inappropriate situations. I will give you my own example. For example, my mother could not hear a calm no when I said no calmly. She like didn't hear it. For example, she approaches me and asks like, "Do you want to eat a carrot?" And I say, "No, I don't." And she's like, "But you should eat the carrot. It's very good for your health." Blah 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 blah. I say, "I don't want to eat it." And then she would not hear this no and ask me again and again and again and again, "Do you want it? Do you want it? Do you want it? Do you want it?" That I just would start raising my voice and shouting that, "No, I don't want it, leave me alone," and all that. And only then she would understand and leave me alone. And when I grew up, I didn't have, I got this habit of instantly raising my voice if I say no. And for example, with a boyfriend, he asks me something or suggests something, and I instantly raise my voice because my mother didn't understand a calm no. And because of it, I had like arguments and all that. And then sometime later, when I got interested in psychology and all that, I realized like, oh, I'm just doing it because my mom was like that. But actually other people are not my mother and they hear a normal no. And since then I stopped like shouting in relationships. Like now in my closest relationships, I can just say calm no, I don't want it, and that's it. The conversation over. They don't continue picking me up about the carrot and all that. So this is a small, silly little example, but analyze your life, like what strategies in communication you used. Maybe you used avoidance, like your parents talk and talk and talk, and you just avoid and kind of dissociate from them and all that. Or maybe you used aggression like me because somebody didn't hear you when you were calm, so you used aggressive tone, and this way you got to be heard and got your needs to be respected. Or maybe you used people pleasing and you were trying to please your parents in order to gain something that you needed. Or what else? Or maybe you had a strategy of being capricious and getting upset, and this way getting what you want. Like, for example, crying and shouting, and this way kind of forcing your parents to do what you want. And this might be fine for a child, but not fine if you're doing this with your boss in your workplace. So please analyze your different strategies that you use to communicate with your parents, with your siblings, with other people in your childhood, or with yourself in your childhood, and think about like what they mean for you. Another example is maybe you got used to parent your own parents and you were engaged in this emotional incest thing, and because of it you grow up and you still try to save others and help others because this way you feel needed and so on. Another strategy. Or if you lived through some sexual abuse or sexualized incest in your childhood, you might um, try to sexualize yourself to get what you want in adult life, or on the contrary, you might avoid like men, or be scared of men, and all that also can be like a way to avoid the pain. So yes, avoidance is also part of the strategies. There is avoidance, there is over control, hyper control, there is um, aggrandizing yourself, making yourself look bigger. There is people pleasing. There are different kind of addictions. Like, for example, your parents were drinking alcohol and you got it from them and you use alcohol to help yourself feel better. Or even without addictions, maybe you use some kind of, I don't know, eating sweets, watching TikTok videos, or surfing in the net, or shopping as a way to get some of your emotional needs met. Like, for example, you feel upset, you buy something online and you feel better. And maybe it also comes from your childhood. Like, another example, my parents, when I was crying and upset in my childhood, they would put on cartoons and give me a candy. And this way, when I grew up, how would I soothe my own feelings? I would put on some movie and eat something sweet. And this was my way to process emotions, and actually not to process them, but to distract from them. So yes, it's very funny once you start noticing it. So pay attention. What was your adaptation strategies, coping strategies like in your childhood? You can also pay attention to different periods of your childhood, like, for example, your early childhood, your like normal childhood, your teenage years. What strategies you learned to adapt to your family. And our purpose right now is to analyze which of these strategies are beneficial to you and which are not. Which of these strategies are helping you in your adult life and which are not. Or maybe which of these strategies can be used only in certain situations. Like, for example, distracting yourself from your feelings can be used in some situation and not used in other. Or being aggressive and raising your voice to protect your boundaries can also be used in some situations but not in all situations, and so on. So ideally, an adult person who has like good competence in managing different life situations, we should have different strategies that we use depending on the goal. Like, if you are at work and you need to achieve a certain agreement with a person, you use one strategy. If you are being attacked by some criminal outside, you use another strategy, and so on. So you kind of use different strategies with different people. You use different strategies to self-soothe, to self-regulate, to control your own emotions and your own impulses, to talk to yourself, to support yourself, and so on. So this is going to be a home task. Just please write a list of strategies you used in your childhood and how they still exist in your adult life. Or maybe you can also write about strategies that you didn't have in your childhood and still don't have them, but you desperately need them. Like, for example, being able to communicate. And I see you soon.